Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Scott Robin with Argyle, and I'm very pleased to welcome you all to the 2014 Procurement and Supply Chain Virtual Event, Spotlight on Collaborative Commerce. We have a couple administrative announcements today, and then we will get started for the content with today. We would like to thank Ariba, an SAP company, for their partnership with today's event, and they've been wonderful as a thought leader to us as well as to our membership, helping to make sure the content and overall experience is as good as it can be. So thank you again to Ariba and SAP company. We very much appreciate you joining us today. We do welcome you to submit feedback, the good, the bad, the ugly on today's virtual event to feedback@argyleforum.com. All feedback goes directly to the office of the founder, where it is reviewed and acted upon to improve your experience. And again, thank you in advance for your candid feedback. And then finally, in order to submit a question today, you can type it into the Q&A section of the interface. We do have an opening presentation and then a panel discussion, and we will review all Q&A following the panel discussion. So at this time, I would like to welcome Dr. Marcell Vollmer, Chief Procurement Officer and Senior Vice President, Global Procurement Organization from SAP. Marcell, all yours.
Excellent. Great. Many thanks for introducing me, and welcome also from my side. It's a great pleasure being here today and happy to share a little bit and give some spotlight on the collaborative commerce, how we are using it internally at SAP. And how to do this best, probably I'd like to kick this off by giving you a little bit of perspective what our growth plan is, what is our ambition on the revenue side and on the margin side, and how we want to achieve this, and how procurement can contribute here to that. So basically, SAP has an updated growth plan now for 2017 released to the analyst, and we are not only want to help the world run better and improve people's life by our solutions. By the way, on the left side, you see 74% of the world business transactions are processed by SAP. I think that's quite a large number, what we have already in the market. And you see it's, as of today, 35 million cloud users, 40 million on-premise users. And we are running an organization with about close to 4 billion euros spent. You see the revenue numbers from last year, 16.8 billion, and in total we have 67,500 employees at SAP. On the right side, you see the updated plan for 2015, where we released 20 billion total revenue and around 2 billion in the cloud. For 2017, we have even more ambitious objectives to go for 22 billion in total revenue, and thereof 3 to 3.5 billion in cloud. So overall, we want to achieve, besides revenue, also 35% operating margin. And this is quite a significant number. Some of you might say, wow, this is incredibly high margin. This is on the industry side, and when you compare this to the software industry, a lot of companies are doing better, and that's basically how we are measured and challenged also from the analyst side. And what is important here, at the current point, we are transitioning from our previous business model, or the current business model, as we are still running a lot on-premise software solutions on the customer side. We are transitioning now to the cloud. And we need to ensure we are not only doing the transition and then we start new, we need to ensure that we continue to grow, and this is what you see here in this plan laid out in a little bit more detail. What comes on top of that is that we are now having more and more acquisitions coming up. You see here how we started. Back in 2007, Business Objects came in, the market leader in business analytics. This was the largest acquisition what SAP did, and basically the first really big one with 6.5 billion market price. And basically, my job was also, before I joined procurement, to drive the post-merger integrations. And this is for Business Objects, continued on Sybase. You see this, 2009, when Sybase joined. And later on, back in 2011, SuccessFactors, the first cloud company, came on. You see Ariba. We are very, very glad that we are having Ariba and all the powerful solutions. I will talk to that in a moment. And now, in 2014, we have acquired Fieldglass. And most likely, I think that's fair to say, and I can release this here, we have announced it, we intend to acquire Concur and hope that the deal gets signed, closed soon. that we have another market leader here in the cloud industry. So Ariba helping us a lot on the procurement solutions. SuccessFactors is a leader here in the HR solutions side. And with Fieldglass, basically we have a beautiful opportunity that we can combine the entire workforce management, so SuccessFactors solutions for the internal staff, the workforce we have, and on the Fieldglass side also that we can manage the contingent labor. And this is really great having both solutions and the capabilities here. But on the other side, we need also to ensure that we can integrate these companies, and therefore procurement plays a very, very important role in doing that. And we have done this in the way that we are not only integrating the companies, we are also implementing the best-in-class software solutions. We did this for all the previous acquisitions, what you have seen, but especially, and this is the main content here of the presentation I want to walk you through today, is the Ariba solutions and especially the Ariba Network. The Ariba Network is really the heart on how we drive the procurement process internally at SAP. So our intent is really to bring all the suppliers on the Ariba Network to ensure that we can leverage our purchasing power best, so close to 4 billion what we have, all indirect spend. Not a big surprise as a software company. This is what we have. And we want to ensure also on the other side that not only leveraging the purchasing power, which is a keen interest of each procurement organization, that we also can reduce the transactional cost. And this is something where the Ariba Network comes in and helps us a lot with, that we can reduce the manual effort, so the manual invoice handling and also the purchase order handling, what Ariba provides us a solution with, what helps us here to fully automate the end-to-end process. How do we do this? So basically, on the automation side, I will start with that before I come to how we have introduced and implemented all the other solutions you see on the left side. In the automation, what helps us a lot is that when we do a sourcing event on the Ariba Network, we can send out via the network a purchase order, and the purchase order will be received by a supplier before he starts working and can be converted with a couple of clicks into an invoice, sent back to the system, and gets processed automatically. As soon as the goods received is in the system, the invoice will get paid according to the payment terms. This is really a big help on the operational procurement side for the purchase order handling, and on the other side also on the finance side, accounts payable also do not need any longer to process manual invoices. And I think everybody of you knows what this means. On the one side you have a scanned document, on the other side you need to enter the data. Very much shared services, what I have seen, this is done really in a fairly manual way, and companies are using OCR, optical character recognition, but it is still really a process which is creating a lot of interfaces. And basically, when you really think about it, what it means, so an invoice gets created by a system, whatever the system is, hopefully an SAP system, on the other side also other ERP systems, or even a Word or an Excel document. So you have all the information already available in a 100% data quality format, and then it gets, in a lot of cases, still printed, then shipped, and the receiving company is opening the envelope, scanning the document, and tries to capture the information by optical character recognition. The rest needs to be checked and entered in a manual way. And this is really where the full automation of the Ariba Network is very beneficial for us and helping us a lot, improving our internal processes to automate more than 50% of our remaining manual invoices. Just to give you a little bit a number on how many invoices we deal with, it is 730,000 invoices on an annual basis. These are the figures from 2013, and we could automate half of them by just introducing here the process. Half have been already automated by EDI, the supplier self-service, as well as the evaluated receipt settlement, and half of the remaining rest, we could now automate here with introducing the Ariba Network. On the other side, and let me come here to what really for procurement is important. On the left side, you see the procurement solutions we are using. I can tell you back in 2011, when I became appointed as CPO, so basically the only system what we had in place was an SAM5 system. So you see SAM still on the bottom of this slide in the center. We still have today SAM, but of course it's now version 7.02. The latest release we have implemented, and we have it now on HANA, fully integrated in our enterprise resource planning system. And we use in parallel to that also the vendor invoice management, the solution from OpenText, to leverage the automation as much as we can. But on the other side, you can imagine what this means, having only an SAM and also an SAM-based catalog. This is not really state-of-the-art and helping you to drive a procurement function in the best way as it is needed to support a margin objective of 35%. Therefore, I was really glad learning in 2012 that we intend to acquire Ariba and have done this in the meantime fully integrated, and also that we have with that access to the beautiful solutions Ariba provides, starting with the spend visibility. This is basically providing us the data transparency on all the spend, PO, purchase order, and non-PO spend, what we are dealing with, to define the right strategies and really drive a more strategic procurement function. Based on the information we have from the data, we need to select the right suppliers. We do this by the supplier information and performance management solution. Here we have all our suppliers in a database. We can drive an onboarding process in a fairly automated way and also ensure that we can perform a due diligence check with the solution. So a questionnaire goes out, we get information. We can also add external market available information to that before we start doing business with one of the suppliers. Comes to the next step, the e-sourcing side and the e-auctioning. We are using this solution to source everything on the network so that we can ensure all our RFX, the request for information, request for proposal, whatever we have, we bring it here in one solution to have it available on the network using the right suppliers we have selected and qualified before. And as soon as a supplier gets awarded, the contract can be uploaded in an automated way because we have all the information, supplier information, as well as the details of an RFX already in the system. This can be directly transferred into the contract management solution, which is really a great help and a big step in automating here. And by the way, the Ariba Network, I was really amazed when I learned what the capabilities are, that this is a network with more than 600 billion in commerce. So the volume what is managed via the Ariba Network with 1.6 million trading partners and in total more than 65 million transactions. It is amazing what this really means. And honestly, I have to say, before I have been appointed as CPO, I was not aware of the Ariba Network as well as the network capabilities. What I really see here is, and the 600 billion, just to give you a little bit an impression what this number means, this is the combined spend of eBay, Amazon, and Alibaba together. And this is really a huge number and a huge opportunity for procurement organization also to leverage here the spend in the best way. On the other side, we have also, this is what you see on the left side, the Ariba catalog, and we have also integrated now a spot buy functionality. So in the case something is not in the catalog, I will come to that on the next slide to give you a little bit an impression how this looks as of today. That we have no longer a cumbersome system in place, and probably some of you have experience with SAM catalog systems. It is maintenance effort, what you have to undertake. It is a great catalog solution, but it needs to be maintained. With the move to Ariba, what you see here now, and I hope you can see this as a slide, what I'm presenting now, this is the catalog what we have in place as of today. And this looks really like an eBay-like shopping catalog, an Amazon-like shopping catalog, and is expected by our 67,500 employees that they have really a state-of-the-art user interface. What you also see here is in a case that something is not available in the catalog, and I have put an iPad cover as an example on that. We have now an integration also with eBay top sellers, I have to say. So if you don't find it in our own catalog, you can reach out to the eBay top sellers, and you can purchase whatever you need according to the defined thresholds we have put in the system, and it's only possible to do this with top sellers, so companies which will be paid in an automated way. And this is really a great solution today, and the people are really pleased seeing this also, that we are no longer having an internal catalog we need to maintain. And also I'm very happy about this, because I do not need the people any longer to do this, because on the one side, the Ariba catalog solution, I have 26 suppliers globally filling in the updated information in this catalog every night. So therefore this catalog is up to date every day, and in the case something is not in, I have a solution which I can provide to the people, that they do not need to spend time to put in a manual request, which needs to be also on a manual way managed by my organization here. What you also see, just to give you a little bit of perspective, what we have changed on top of that is the approval workflows. In a lot of cases, you receive emails and you need to click on that, then an SAP screen opens and you need to manage the workflow. Today, you can do this on your smartphone, on your iPad. You see the iPad solution here. You just need what are the work items. This is a live screen, a live copy for my iPad, what I have here to do, and basically it is customized according to my needs. This is really a great step forward, and also a completely different way of doing business. Let me go back for a minute more just to walk you also through the different processes we have implemented besides the goods. So you see on the top that we use Ariba end-to-end for goods, starting with spend visibility, contract management, leverage on the network, and also on the accounts payable side. On the services side, and this is about 1/3 of our total spend, we are now implementing Fieldglass and want to have one end-to-end solution here also to ensure that the so-called direct spend, if you want to say, for a software company, all the people we engage either to implement solutions on the customer side or also to help us to develop certain solutions, we can now in the future do this with the service procurement solution Fieldglass offers. On the other side, and I mentioned already Concur, we intend also to implement an end-to-end travel sourcing and booking solution for the buyers. As of today, we have already cloud solutions for travel reimbursement in place, so you do not need any longer to wait, collect all your receipts, go to the system, enter it manually. Probably some don't trust the system, taking a copy. This is no longer needed. You only need now a picture of a receipt, can upload it in the system, and basically you get reimbursed. So that's the landscape we have started, and this is now a little bit more than 2 years up and running. You can imagine this is really a huge change for the people in the procurement organization, starting only with an operational SM system and now having the full capabilities of the cloud solutions available. If you want to ask me what is the future about and how will it look like, so most likely we will fully move into the cloud, as we want to become the cloud company powered on HANA or in-memory database technology to ensure we can leverage our own solutions to the best extent to run a procurement organization in a very strategic way. And strategic procurement for me, this is the way I interpret this, is a very simple definition. It means provide solutions to the business. And only if you provide solutions to the business, you stay relevant and you get your seat on the table of the business, which is intended by at least all CPOs and procurement executives I have talked to. On the slide, what I put up now, just to wrap up and give you a little bit of perspective here on what we have achieved by implementing now an end-to-end source-to-pay process as well as the solutions for that. Probably just on the end-to-end process side, one word more about my role as CPO. I'm not only running the procurement function, so all the source-to-purchase related activities, I'm also the business owner in my function as Chief Procurement Officer to be end-to-end accountable for the productivity improvements for the source-to-pay process. So the purchasing, the operational purchasing part as well as the payment part, and in our case also travel reimbursement, the team belongs to that. This is the end-to-end view, what I'm running, even if purchasing as well as the accounts payable side is part of the shared service center of our finance shared service center we have established. And by the way, as I have established finance shared services before I started integrating the companies and then moving on to the procurement functions, I'm a big fan and absolutely a believer of the business model and the efficiency, what I have seen, what you can done with shared services. Let me come to the achievements on the right side before I wrap up here. The cloud procurement solutions on the Ariba side, as well as the Ariba Network and the Ariba Catalog, we only needed a 3-month implementation time. And this was really amazing by learning how long it would take to build all these solutions and connect them with our existing system landscape. So it was really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that we could now get access to cloud solutions and that you can switch them on in a fairly short time frame and connect them to our existing SIM and ERP system. So this is a hybrid scenario we could implement. We have in total more than 3,500 suppliers on the Ariba network transacting, receiving purchase orders, sending us invoices, and we leverage the purchasing power on the network. In total, we have already 120,000 invoices transmitted, and this is the increase of 50% automation, what we will achieve until the end of the year. Total number might go up to 180, 200,000 invoices, and this leads directly to a productivity gain of 20%. And I can give you also a little bit more details on that. This means that in the end-to-end process, we have around 150 people dealing with the purchase order as well as with the accounts payable, the invoice management. And here, the 20% translates also to around 30 people we can use and leverage also for our expansion of shared services and do not need any longer in the process, which is really not a process and task to do what people like, looking on the left screen, seeing invoice information and entering it in a system on a right screen. Total, we have almost purchase order value sourced of around 1 billion. This is the current status, what we have achieved after a little bit more than 1 year, what we are now live with the Ariba solutions. With that, just the final slide to wrap up the key takeaways. I believe that transforming a procurement organization and to run simple and have the right user interface, I have shown you the catalog, as well as the right solutions to equip your buyers that they can leverage the purchasing power best. You need to bring the right organizational setup, an easy setup. We transitioned from a regional setup to a global category-based setup. You need to ensure that the people are allocated to the right functions. And of course, and I hope it was an interesting story for you to see how fast we could implement our cloud solutions for our end-to-end process here. I think the transformation and to run simple in a procurement organization is absolutely key. On the other side, only if you do this, you will stay relevant and you can leverage really the power of the social media you can use, the supplier management, and by using the business networks, you have the time to interact with your suppliers, to get the innovations, to run procurement in a more strategic way, and also to ensure that you have the time to sit together with the business and define the right plans, that you stay relevant and earn your seat on the table of the business. For that, I would like to thank you. I hope it was interesting sharing with. And yeah, with that, many thanks, and back to the moderator.
Well, great. Well, Marcell, this is Scott again from Argyle. Thank you very much for that opening presentation. Very excited. I would like to introduce our panel discussion now. We've got some great executives for this panel, titled Transforming Procurement to Drive Business Results, moderated by Emily Rakowski, Global Vice President, Audience Marketing for Line of Business Procurement from SAP. Emily, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Scott, and thank you, Marcell, for giving that view on what we within SAP have done to transform our own procurement function. And now what we'd like to do is bring on our esteemed board of panelists that have agreed to speak with us today. We have 3 CPOs that I will ask each of you to introduce yourselves in turn. And then what we'll do is we'll have an open conversation with some different moderated questions to really talk about what's happening today in procurement and what really the future will look like for your organizations. We have Mr. Stan Brown, who's the Chief Procurement Officer and Vice President at CA Technologies. We have Mike Kienitz, who's the Vice President of Supply Chain and Chief Procurement Officer at SunPower Corporation. And we have Greg Tennyson, who's the Chief Procurement Officer at VSP Global. So a very esteemed panel, and Marcell will also join the panel for some of the questions as well. So with that, I'll ask Stan if you can make an introduction of yourself and your role at CA Technologies.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone on the call. My name is Stan Brown. As you heard, Vice President Global Supply Chain and Chief Procurement Officer. For those that are not familiar with CA Technologies, we're an enterprise software manufacturer. We service Global 500 corporations. We primarily make security and DevOps types of software to be used in the mobile to mainframe environment.
Terrific, thanks. And Mike, over to you.
Thanks, Emily. This is Mike Kienitz. I'm the VP of Supply Chain and Chief Procurement Officer for SunPower Corporation. SunPower is a $3 billion integrated solar power company. So responsibilities for myself include not only kind of the operational procurement, but also the downstream procurement activities.
Okay, great. And we'll have some interesting questions for you, I'm sure. And then over to Greg.
Hi, everyone. Greg Tennyson. I'm the CPO at Vision Services. Most of you actually probably subscribe to our Vision Care insurance program. We've got over 70 million people in the program. We're a $4 billion company with over 5,000 employees. I was previously the CPO at Salesforce.com and at Oracle Corporation. Thank you, Emily.
Great, terrific. So what we want to talk about today is how the function of the CPO is really growing and changing, and how we're working together both with the business and with the supply base to evolve the function. So the first question we have for the panelists is, what new responsibilities has the CPO been tasked with, and what functions are you collaborating most closely with internally? So with that, we'll start with Stan.
Thank you. I think the biggest change to my role has been what we here at CA Technologies call early engagement. And Marcell actually touched upon this. We need to get a seat at the table when the businesses are making their strategy plans for the coming months and even the coming years, to be able to show the value that procurement can bring to the business, rather than just processing papers and talking to vendors about pricing. We need to be able to understand where they're going, understand what their needs are, and in some cases explain to them that what they're needing is really not what they're asking for, and work with them to understand that. So our role is to be able to get a seat at the table and be able to have those discussions where in the past we have not.
That's great. Can I ask one of the other panelists to jump in with some approaches that you're using in order to achieve those conversations and have those open discussions? Greg, is that something you could address?
Sure, happy to, Emily. It's interesting. I would agree with Stan. It's getting a seat at the table. The way that we've done it is really, it's changing my role from a buying role really to a selling role. So I'm more focused on selling solutions, opportunities to the business, acquiring the right talent to really deliver that value proposition, and collaborating. It really comes down to collaborating with the business, understanding their needs, partnering with finance, specifically with the FP&A organization, to understand how the businesses are trending from an actuals to budget perspective, what plans, projects do they have in the pipeline, and trying to get in front of that really to drive the conversation, as Stan had said, to an earlier engagement. But it's really my experience working with finance, with the FP&A group, to really have those conversations, to get that lay of the land, to better partner with the business.
Absolutely. We see a lot of our customers using spending insights and other insights that they're gleaning from being more technology-enabled as well to support that approach. Now, I want to turn the conversation over to Mike for a moment. I know SunPower is a very high-growth organization, and so how has that impacted your conversations with the business?
Sure. Thanks, Emily. For us, it's really, we've started to migrate from, kind of the basic purchasing 101, negotiations, multiple quotes, as was discussed before, of, transaction-oriented, into, first of all, leveraging the business, but then secondly, and where the real migration's happening now, is getting into how do you bring value to the entire business, and as you look to grow, what can your supply base do to bring value to the business for you? So when we're looking at solutions going forward, we're not presenting and thinking in terms of I buy a component and I want to get it at the lowest cost. It's looking at what is the total business solution we're trying to provide, and how do we provide that to the business, and how can the supply chain more effectively provide it, whether it's they bring intellectual property, they bring a technology, they open a market for us, or we have co-location opportunities or opportunities to eliminate some additional costs in other areas as well.
Perfect. That's a great segue, Mike, because our next discussion is really around how you are engaging and maintaining strong relationships with those key suppliers that can bring innovation and solutions to your company, and how do you work collaboratively with them to really deliver that value. Do you have any more comments on sort of the approach you take directly with the suppliers there?
Yeah, sure. And it's probably good. I'll take a step back. We consciously, about 2 years ago, said we can't get into the race to the bottom in competition with the Chinese. Just progressively going after just cost. We want to value quality. We want to value our suppliers and developing and working with our suppliers and technology. And if we just chase after cost, and if we just go and move from each supplier, we'll end up kind of losing in the end because we're not nearly as ruthless as some of our competitors might be. So what we've really done is we've started to go into what we call catalyst events, where we sit down in the early design phase and we look at how you design for cost, design for manufacturability, design for reliability in our product. And then we pull that from the supply base and we take what we're designing, we take what we're developing, and then move it forward with core design inputs, core intelligence coming from the supply base to really help us develop a product that's differentiated in the market. And we do set the expectation of the supply base that if they're going to become a preferred supplier for us, that they have to provide us something that differentiates our product, not that they'll sell to us and sell to our competitors, and then we're just negotiating on margin out there.
Great, and I'm sure there's a lot of sort of rewards and other things that go into those sorts of approaches, where we're rewarding for innovation and having the most proactive solutions to the table. So with that, I want to turn this similar question over to Stan. Stan, do you guys work closely with any sort of top-tier suppliers to drive additional innovation into the business?
Yes, we do. We do have a list of preferred vendors as well, and what I do is I link the conversations that we have with the business and have those same conversations with our preferred vendors to find out how they can support us in achieving the objectives that the business has for that strategy. So what I try to do is I try to be the link between the business and the vendors to make sure that I have a right mix of vendors on board identified as preferred vendors that could meet the needs of what our businesses are trying to do, 3, 6, 9, 18 months out. So more collaborative and as was stated earlier, more of a sell role than it is a buy role, trying to sell the strategies that my businesses are going forward with to the vendors and get them to see the value and get them to see the opportunities they have of becoming that preferred vendor for CA going forward.
Great. And I think we see a lot of our customers sort of going in that same vein of being able to clearly articulate the corporate strategy and be 100% in alignment with that when going out to the suppliers and really asking for their long-term support and vision as well. So that's terrific. The next point I want to turn to is around the use of data and analytics. This is kind of a hot topic. Big data has been a hot topic for a couple years now, but it hasn't so much permeated, I think, the everyday for procurement. But I want to understand from you guys, what are the analytics that you're using the most to drive your success in the business and also potentially to provide predictive insights to the business? This is like the big term right now is predictive. So is there anything that you're doing on your side to leverage this big data and predictive insights? And I'll turn that one over to Greg.
Sure. Thanks, Emily. Interesting listening to Marcell's presentation because a number of the tools that we have in place are owned by his company. So within the T&E space, within the managed services program, contingent workforce space, around content, procurement content, around some of those, basic tools. But what we do particularly interesting at my prior company is we had developed a predictive analytics tool around T&E, around travel and entertainment expense. There were two costs that we could attempt to manage on a prospective basis, T&E being one of them. So we created an algorithm that looked at historical spend, looked at predictive leading indicators such as deals in the pipeline, sales deals in the pipeline. We looked at big events that were coming up. And we actually developed a very effective way of messaging to our executive management team what our run rate was around T&E expense. And again, it was one of two costs that we wanted to get a handle on a prospective basis so we could better manage the expense and, if necessary, put measures in place to curtail the expense. But it really came down to that predictive analytics around T&E, and we were fairly successful in messaging to the business so we could manage those expenses more proactively.
Okay, great. And obviously we at SAP see a big opportunity as well in travel and expense area with some of the investments we're currently making. So we know that T&E is a major expense to manage that's becoming more and more under the purview of the Chief Procurement Officer. I want to follow up on that question over to Stan. So how is CA using analytics or predictive insights in your business?
Well, we're unfortunately a little behind the curve than most. We are putting in some analytic tools right now to be able to gain that insights that we need. We had some homegrown and some standalone systems that we use to do data analysis. And what we found out is that the data analysis is no longer viable. It's no longer relevant to having us predict where we want to go from a procurement perspective, a budgeting perspective, or from a supporting the business perspective. And I've made the decision to kind of scrap those and put in an integrated system that would give me these capabilities that we're talking about now. So unfortunately, I have to admit that we're a little bit behind the curve.
Oh, no worries. I'd say a vast majority of customers we talk to struggle with data, dirty data issues, and just not having good, packaged solutions and approaches. It's a real challenge to get all that pulled together, and even more of a challenge to understand exactly what to do with it and to have the right talent to be able to do the right analysis with it and leverage it in the best ways. So I think that's something a lot of CPOs do struggle with.
Yeah, the difference, I think, is the evolution of being able to do data analysis. Most people can do today, most companies can do today, and we're just as good as anybody else in the data analysis, but recognizing the fact that that's not going to take you to the next level. That's not going to give you the insights and the capabilities to be able to look and be predictive. That's the key right there, to be able to identify where you want to go. And we've made that decision about 4 to 6 months ago, and like I said, we're in the throes right now of an implementation of a tool that will allow us to actually do the type of things that we're talking about.
Great. Well, good luck. We'll want to hear back from you once that's been implemented and how you're using it. So I want to pivot a little bit to a conversation around procurement teams. So obviously all of the new capabilities that we're bringing to the fore in procurement require a fresh wave of talent, and this is the kind of talent that there's sort of limited number of schools and programs that churn out the talent that really understands supply chain. So what is your strategy when it comes to building and managing a cohesive procurement team, and how are you attracting that talent? So this one I'm going to put over to Mike.
Okay. So I think for myself, it's in our organization, the first thing we really focused on, in addition to kind of the traditional metrics and objectives of a sourcing organization, is creating a sense of purpose for the team. And within our organization, it was really about tying what is it they do every day, and what is it that we're trying to do as an organization to influence and impact the company, and then influence and impact the environment and the industry as well. So for us, that was the first part, is to create not only kind of your standard dashboards, objectives, missions, vision, value type items, but having a sense of purpose for the organization. And then as we've started to recruit and pull people in, being able to tell that story. And the biggest other portion that we see within that group is the top employees are also key recruiters for follow-on employees. As long as you bring them in, you make them part of the solution, and they're able to really see the impact and see the value that they bring to the company, they're going to start kind of reaching out to their friends and their colleagues from past opportunities and try to pull them in to being part of the solution as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a cycle of recruitment. I like that. And I think you in the solar energy industry have, potentially a step up in attracting millennials who are excited about the technology that you guys are bringing forward. So I think that's terrific.
For sure. I think that, yeah. Go ahead.
I want to also, if Marcell is still on the line, I wanted to have him weigh in on this discussion as well, because I know that we've been evolving our talent pool at SAP in the procurement function. Do you want to say some words about how you guys are doing that?
Absolutely, Emily, and of course I'm still on the line, happy to do this. People development is really a key priority for us and for all the leaders in the organization. Why is that? Basically, for us as SAP, people are the real asset what we have. And this is really something also we need to ensure that we take care of our people, that we have development plans in place. This is mandatory, so that each manager is sitting together with all employees in his or her team and going through what are really the expectations, what is the career path, and we have different career paths we are offering. So you can continue to do an expert career in a specific functional area, and as you can imagine, in software industry, you might have really very specific areas in the development organization where you need very trained and skilled people to run certain solutions. On the other side, we offer also a managerial path. And this is really something where we need to ensure that the people are getting equipped and trained. In procurement, we, of course, adapt this and ensure that we have also development plans in place that we discuss. Do you want to go for an expert career? Do you want to go for a managerial career? And we need also to ensure with the marketing what we are doing in procurement, and also by ensuring that we really envision also what the people need in the future. Predictive analytics helps also that you have a modern user interface like a new catalog environment, so that the function is attractive for people. And this is a kind of marketing what you as a chief procurement officer can do as well in the organization. And at the beginning, you can imagine only having an operational system and running more operational tactical procurement. So the function is not really very attractive for a lot of people. So therefore, it helps also here focusing a little bit that the people understand what is the value contribution an organization like the procurement organization can have to the margin ambition company desires, especially when you only have personal expenses and the spend you need to deal with. And this really helps also being a place where people like to be. And we need then, of course, also to ensure that we retain the talents, not only attracting them, developing them, we need to retain them, and therefore either they develop in procurement, but we're also very open that people go to other functions. I currently have some people also going to the sales function, which is great. And basically sales is the other side from the table of procurement. This is a natural career path, and I'm really happy to see that this is more and more evolving also here for us at SAP. Thanks, Emily. Great question.
Great. Thank you. And I want to actually also turn this over to Greg, because Greg, you mentioned that you have been in a procurement leadership role at several different organizations fairly recently. Obviously, procurement talent is an ongoing need and issue. What have you seen across, your several recent roles in talent development?
Sure. It's interesting listening to Mike and Marcell. It really comes down to having a story to attract the right talent. So are you a Fortune 100 best company to work for? Are you the most ethical company? Having that credibility and reputation, as my kids would say, having cred is important because it helps you to attract talent, right? Then it's a question of once you've attracted the right talent, making sure that you're positioning them, enabling them to be successful in their role. So it's equipping them with the tools. If it's simple as, SAP Ariba or a laptop or tablet, whatever that might be, but also getting them set up in a system to be successful. So really developing them, assimilating them into the organization is another key factor. But just from my experience, it's really about having that story, the story externally to attract the talent, the story internally, the successes that you can sell and develop that, cred within the organization that, you are somebody that they can rely on to bring value to that organization, to that business unit.
Absolutely. We at SAP have done a lot of work on the HR side of the house to research sort of the needs and wants of millennials coming into the workforce and what are they really looking for. And I think you're absolutely right. We're really seeing that trend towards millennials looking for very meaningful work, understanding the value that they're providing right up front, and so having that story and ultimately marketing your function internally, not only to get credibility up through the managerial ranks, but also into those folks that are looking for their next career move in the organization. So I totally agree. It's a very interesting time for talent growth and procurement. So now we're going to shift to another topic, which is around risk management, another very hot topic. So a lot of our customers right now are working towards more organized and focused risk management programs that procurement takes a leading role in, or procurement with supply chain side by side take a role together with that. So I wanted to see what your organizations are doing right now in terms of risk management programs and supply continuity issues. And with that one, I would give it to Stan to take the first response.
This is Scott jumping in. Unfortunately, Stan had to jump off again.
Oh, he did? Okay. Oh, no problem. Okay, that's fine. So maybe we'll send this one over to Mike. Mike, are you able to speak to how you guys are managing your continuity of supply?
Sure. So we look, from a manufacturing standpoint, we first look at, what is the material that we buy, where are they at from a risk in terms of supply to the market basis, and where do we need to have alternate sources or alternate locations from which we purchase. So we'll go through on a commodity-by-commodity basis and really look at that and understand if we have sole sourced in a high-risk location, whether it's shipping risk, risk of strike, risk of other potential risks, how do we create another source, manufacture in another location, or something that can mitigate that risk for the business?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think more and more we're seeing our customers looking to also leverage technology there to have real risk management programs and tasks and alternatives in place to really push that through the ranks of those that are dealing with those issues on a category-by-category basis. It's quite an interesting time for that. And I know, Greg, on your side that you manage risk around corporate social responsibility as well as part of your role. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, it's really part of our DNA, CSR, corporate social responsibility. So we have community outreach program at a supplier diversity inclusion level, and that we actively solicit from diverse suppliers to participate in how we're spending our dollars. We have business groups, we call them BRGs, within the business unit that actually focus on CSR opportunities. We partner with them to make sure that we're reaching out to the business community, we're including them in opportunities. We do track our diverse spend, quarter, annual. We do have NEVI-WEVI objectives, targets that we look to hit. But it really comes down to having the right programs in place to do the right thing for the community, the ecosystem in which you operate. And by including and having a strong CSR program, it really pays back dividends and helps the brand, your reputation within the industry, not only attracting talent, but also just doing the right thing for the community. As an extension of that, we also have compliance programs around code of conduct, auditing, suppliers, just to make sure that from a fraud abuse perspective that, as we do the CSRs, we do the supplier outreach programs, that we're aligning with the right company that has values similar to BSP and really takes CSR seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we obviously have seen a lot of companies over time looking at that, and from our perspective, we've been asked by companies over this past decade to do more and more in our tool sets in order to support diverse spend as well, being able to identify that spend through the spend visibility tools, and also on the Ariba Network, we've done a lot to try to attract diverse suppliers there to make that a more accessible supply base for our customers. So we have over 50,000 diverse suppliers on the network today, and we continuously look to bring more and more across the globe to support those programs. So we appreciate that you guys are going in that direction as well. And with that, I wanted to shift a little bit to technology and talk about how technology has changed the way that you have done your function over these past few years and how you're using it today to connect with your customers or your suppliers or other partners to drive efficiencies in what you're doing. Greg, do you have a perspective on that?
Yeah, it's interesting. We collaborate with our suppliers using social media tools. So we are very transparent, creating what I would call multi-threaded conversations as opposed to single-threaded conversations like email. So we're exposing conversations with suppliers so everybody can contribute. we're putting information in sites that is discoverable by people that need to know, what are the contract terms. There are conditions around how that information is being used, how it's being disclosed, shared, but we're really enabling collaboration in such a way as to create what I would call multi-threaded, open conversations so people can contribute. It's no longer about email, phone calls. It's about using social media tools to drive that level of transparency. And with that, you can have real-time conversations. You're including other key stakeholders in the dialogue so they can contribute, gain a sense for supplier performance, understanding contractual terms, price points. So again, in my opinion, collaboration is key. It's all about having open conversations.
Yeah, of course, we agree with that as well. And I want to throw it over to Mike. I mean, I want to understand what you guys are doing, but also are you finding that the supply base is more comfortable with these sorts of collaborative tools and technologies?
Sure. The acceptance that we've had from the supply base, similar to what was just mentioned, we're using similar tools for collaboration with the supply base, and the acceptance has been just fantastic. The feedback from the suppliers, whether it's on how we do our invoicing, our bid process, our planning process, or our PO process, any of those, and each of those, the feedback across the supply base is just overwhelmingly positive. It speeds things up. It eliminates the questions. It eliminates the back and forth issues that we've had. And then net result internal to my organization, we're able to launch. We're doing twice the volume we did when I hired on 3 years ago with the same number of people. And as we look to add basically, again, double our volume, we're over the next 2 years, we expect that we'll really have minimal headcount additions coming in as well because of the efficiencies that technology has created for us.
Wow, that's amazing. I think that's every CFO's dream. So that's a great testament to the power of the tool set. So congratulations to you guys on that. That's great. And then the final point I wanted to put to our CPO panel is more around where we're headed in the future. So how have you seen your role evolve over the last few years, and where do you really see it going as you move forward, assuming you're going to stay in the CPO seat for a while longer? I'll start that off with Greg.
Sure. It's interesting. The CPO role, as I see it, is more that of an enabler. We help fuel our company's growth. Yeah, there's the traditional opportunities around savings, but as we've talked about talent, it really is about hiring the right talent, the right skill sets, competencies, business acumen, and allowing those people to be successful, but not only successful in procurement, but taking those skills that they develop here and seeding them in other lines of business is a role, in my opinion, of the CPO. And then, we've talked about technology. It really is implementing the right solutions that facilitate growth, that fuel growth, that, as Mike was talking about, allow you to grow 2x your organization without adding 2x the headcount. So it's about driving efficiencies, optimizing, process with technology to support the organization. We enable growth. It simply comes down to that.
Yeah, and I think, from everything I've heard from other CPOs in recent forums, that's definitely aligned to what we hear. I really just want to pick up on one thing you said, Greg, which is kind of train up these people to understand procurement and be a champion for procurement, and then sort of set them free in the lines of business to build their careers, but also to continue to be champions for procurement and bring that discipline into other things that they do moving forward. So I think that's an exciting way to really continue to market the procurement functionality and value throughout the business. And over to you, Mike. So where do you see the role evolving?
Yeah, I think it's similar to what Greg mentioned, and that's identifying ways to continue to bring value to the enterprise, and aligning your supply base and aligning our strategies with the business's strategies overall. And so I think that's, as the company start to see the ability to leverage the expenditures, not only to deliver something, but to deliver solutions and deliver new technologies, new ideas, improve the business as a whole, I think that's where people are going to look to the CPO going forward, is what are you doing to change the business versus what are you doing to kind of save money and impact the bottom line.
I think that's perfect. That's a great response to end on. So I think that's kind of the perfect point that a lot of us see the role going towards that growth role. So with that, we want to thank our panelists so much for joining, and Marcell as well. And I think we're going to open it up for a short Q&A session.
Absolutely. Well, Emily, thank you very much for doing a great job moderating, and to the panelists, really a great conversation. So we do have a couple questions that have come in. Greg, first one came actually in for you when you were talking about your predictive analytics tool, and you may have covered it a little bit when we talked on technology, but can you give a little bit more on the conceptual insight? Is that tool linked to social media, sensing, predicting material situations? Can you give a little bit more information on that?
Yeah, I'm trying to maintain the vendor neutrality, so I'll speak to it from a SAP family of tools. So SAP I can't judge it, but they made a smart move in acquiring Concur, who previously had acquired a company called TRX, which is travel analytics. We actually leverage that tool set, combine it with an algorithm that looks at our deal pipeline. So within CRM, our customer relationship management tool, we look at kind of the deals that are in flight, and we try to get ahead of where sales is traveling to. We look at partnering with marketing in the sales organization, sales kickoff meetings, big trade show events where we participate. And we created this algorithm that really looks at lagging indicators, leading indicators, creating this algorithm that says, we're projecting T&E spend of X in the next quarter. What's our expense growth look like? What other financial measures, profit margin, EBITDA, et cetera, are we trying to hit from a external reporting standpoint? And are we on track, or do we need to curtail certain types of spending, non-essential, non-revenue growth, T&E spending in order to meet those numbers? So we really partnered with our finance organization to get a better handle on those expenses to really hit the number that we were reporting from an expense growth to the marketplace.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. Another question that came in was, as you guys were talking about kind of earning your seat at the table, if you will, really looking at executive buy-in and how you talked a little bit about really becoming and earning that seat, but was it tough to get executive buy-in, and who were your champions in the organization? So Mike, can I throw that one to you?
Sure. So from my perspective, and I think overall is kind of the CPO and procurement world, the easiest place where we tie in is into the guys who are more number driven. So the COO, the engineering, R&D, CIO type role, and the CFO role. Those are the people who, when you use the data and you can show the impact of the organization, they'll quickly understand the impact in the business and the buy-in. And then you can kind of keep expanding that into the less numbers analytically driven organizations. But we clearly started with metrics, objectives, and showing the impact through the metrics as an organization, and that's allowed us to start expanding from there. But aligning with the people who are more numbers and metrics driven was the key element for us.
Great. And Greg, any insight from you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, procurement traditionally has been about savings. It's been about the numbers. So certainly lining up with the CFO, COO, CIO, but it does help if you have a burning platform. So if your expense growth's out of control and you're not delivering your financial results, it's easy to get in the ear of the CEO when you have a plan and you execute on that plan and you deliver the desired results. So it's really understanding kind of the maturation of the company, what the issues are, and knowing who to appeal to, right? Who that topic is important to, as Mike had said.
Fantastic. And Marcell, do you have any insight on kind of some of the folks you've been working with? Is that something that you hit close to home for you?
Absolutely, and I can echo also that procurement is something more than just looking for the procurement savings. I think it is important that you really speak the same language like the business is doing. We have done this in the way we discontinued our procurement savings reporting and have changed our model that we have now agreed objectives with our lines of businesses. And basically, by having the same objectives like the line of business, you are automatically a partner because you help whatever the business wants to achieve. It can be a cost reduction, no doubt about, or even cost avoidance. It's impossible, but on the other side, it can also be that you focus more on the quality side, or you need to get something in time delivered, which is more important at a certain point of time. And this is really where we change and also could be more relevant for the business because we are no longer talking about procurement savings. We are talking exactly about the same objectives what the business is doing. And on the other side, you need also to ensure that you have a close connection to the CFO. I think I mentioned the example here also what you can achieve on the accounts payable side. This is something which is very tangible for a CFO. And of course, this helps you also to get a different positioning in your own organization. And this is absolutely key also then to work from there. Make a little bit marketing by having the right solutions in place, make the shopping experience easy for the people, and also understand the business and have the resources and free up some time to get rid of operational administrative tasks and focus more on the strategic side, so providing solutions to the business. This helped us a lot by becoming more relevant, and I would say it is very fair to say that we have a close relationship to our lines of businesses. So the ones important also from the spend perspective, where the demand comes from.
Well, fantastic, and I think that's actually a nice way to wrap it up. And I want to, again, thank everyone for joining us today. I want to thank Emily for moderating a great panel and our panelists. Just so everybody knows, you will receive a link with the feedback form following today's event, and the audio will be available on the Argyle sites within 48 hours. So I want to wish everyone a wonderful rest of the day and a happy holiday season. Thank you.